I saw them in 1978. There was no other show I'd seen up to that point because they had a fucking spaceship.
Hey everybody, welcome back in the shed. I'm Troy. This is Dave. And it is 2024. Can you believe it?
I learned to write my checks with 2024.
You still write checks?
No, I have to for some reason. I use my credit card for everything, but I just finished a huge job on my house. Contract.
So you had to write a big old check.
Lots of checks.
Yeah. You're not one of those people that stand in line at HEB and write a check after everything is. Then they finally get the check.
I got behind a lady not too long ago who's writing a check at HEB, and I was like, "Wow, I want to almost YouTube it." But no, I use my rewards card for everything. But yeah, when you're paying roofers and contractors and all that stuff, you got to keep a few checks around.
That's true. I don't have any checks. I might have 2 checks.
Right. Yeah. You better check.
Anyway, hey, we're talking about the top 3 albums that are 40 years old or came out in 1984. I was 13 in 1984, so there were a lot of albums that made a big impression on me as a young boy.
I was graduating from college.
You were in college a long time.
In fact, this spring, it's going to be 40 years since I left Cullowhee, Western Carolina University.
Wow.
Hard to believe.
It's hard to believe, yeah. It's hard to believe we're so old.
But we're still rocking.
We're still rocking. Hey, rock and roll keeps you young.
Yeah, it does.
So the topic tonight is the top 3 albums of 1984. Why don't you just, we'll get rolling. And what's your number 3?
I'm going to go with Stevie Ray Vaughan, Couldn't Stand the Weather.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. That album was the follow-up to Stevie Ray Vaughan's debut album, which came out, really less than a year earlier. It was an incredible follow-up to that debut album. That album was a huge step for Stevie Ray because, like I said, the previous album hadn't been out that long, but this album really, it hit number 31 on the Billboard charts, which at the time, when blues was pretty much
dead,
given up for dead.
Yeah,
that was a huge step for the resurrection of the blues. They had a lot of great songs, but of course that cover of Voodoo Child by Stevie Ray Vaughan just blew everybody. Really ever really covered that album before. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Robin Trower or Frank Marino or any of those guys had ever done it before.
Nobody ever wanted to attempt it, I guess.
I guess not.
Yeah.
But it had a lot of, it had some hits. And it had some videos because MTV was out at the time. I remember the title track, Couldn't Stand the Weather. Videos were still a little bit, maybe cheesy a little bit back then. But his was pretty good. He was out there and
it's raining. They're in a storm.
And he's out there playing. And he's got that great, custom guitar that had his name on the fretboard. And I wonder if he ruined that guitar.
I don't know.
I mean, it got soaked. That was Couldn't Stand the Weather. It was a great song.
That's a interesting video because it's interspersed with these sort of like people arguing with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
From different countries, and they would show the flag from
yelling at each other.
And they would show the flag from whatever country they were from, and they were arguing with each other. And at the very end of the video, the flags are like in the ditch, like in the water's carrying. And I never understood what
it had a concept to it.
I don't know the concept.
Yeah, it doesn't really speak clearly, but that's what it was. It was Stevie's out there in a hurricane, jamming away, and the band is playing in the rain, and you got these people that are face to face that are just like, mad.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, they had the album. The album had the song "Cold Shot" on it
Yeah.
too. And "Cold Shot" was definitely like tongue-in-cheek, you know, cheesy.
Yeah.
But this, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan's big fat wife. And she hates his guitars.
Was there a music video for that?
Yeah, there was.
I've never
We're
seen
gonna
it.
show it here.
Yeah.
Pay attention! I'm gonna kill this sucker!
It's a great album, but it really doesn't do justice to his live stuff. Because you can't compare, I think, any recorded album of Stevie Ray Vaughan to what he does live.
Yeah. But it's a very well produced album, and it definitely had a sonic quality to it, and the album sounds great. And it was one of the first compact discs I bought because CDs had been out. I bought it on vinyl because
You bought a CD in 1984? There were CDs in 1984?
yes, there were. They were just coming out.
Wow.
I think one of the first was "Born in the USA" by Bruce Springsteen, which
okay.
came out in '84. And you know, I already had these albums, but I'd gotten a CD player, a nice one. My brother got it at the PX in the Navy, so he got it for like half price. And I had a good stereo, and I remember buying. Couldn't stand the weather because I had to have it on a better, you know,
Yeah.
so-called, you know, format.
Yeah.
And then I bought Brothers in Arms, Dire Straits, which I already had on vinyl. And then I bought some more.
You started your CD collection way earlier than I did because I was listening to cassettes until probably the mid-90s. That's when I started buying CDs.
I bought it. I was like convinced that, and the sound quality was incredible. You didn't have to worry about pops and clicks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know,
or a cassette like getting all messed up in your cassette player, and then you
Or
got to pull
having-
it out and take the cassette apart and fix it.
or
Yeah.
flip the album.
Yeah, or flip the album.
But I bought that album or that CD right after it came out too, and I love that album. I might have to say that's my favorite Stevie Ray Vaughan album.
I would say that is such a great number 3 that it's my number 3 also.
All right.
It might have been higher up my list, but the only reason it's not is because I didn't discover Stevie Ray Vaughan until probably after he died in the early '90s. Because I was a kid and Stevie Ray Vaughan wasn't on my radar in 1984 because it wasn't as mainstream. I think it was on MTV, but like I said before, we didn't have MTV in San Sabas, so I never saw the videos. I didn't know Stevie Ray Vaughan at the time, so it could have been higher on my list. But that's my number 3 also. So let's just go to your number 2 then.
All right. My number 2 is going to be Prince, "Purple Rain." You know, that album came out in, obviously 1984. And it was really the album that propelled Prince to superstar status. His previous album had, gotten pretty big. Had Little Ray Corvette and stuff. But when Purple Rain came out, and that was really the soundtrack to the movie that coincided with it. And Prince was, he was on a different planet at that time.
Yeah.
Really.
He was up there with Michael Jackson at that time.
He was up there with everybody.
Yeah.
But the movie was a big hit. I watch it nowadays.
It's a little cheesy.
It's a little bit cheesy. It was Prince's first number 1 album, and it spent 24 consecutive weeks on the top of the Billboard charts. The lead single was "When Doves Cry."
How can you just leave me standing alone in a world that's so cold?
And the next one was "Let's Go Crazy," and that went to number 1.
I'm gonna let the elevator break us down. Oh no, let's go
title track, Purple Rain, only made it to number 2. Four songs to break the top 10. Pretty much unrivaled, and unless you go back to the Beatles and stuff like that. But I don't even know if Michael Jackson's Thriller had that many in the top 10. What's kind of crazy is I read about this is that Prince wrote the song Purple Rain, and he wanted to get Stevie Nicks to do it as a duet.
Really?
He kind of wrote it as a country song, and he wanted Stevie Nicks. But Stevie Nicks was totally intimidated by Prince, and she backed out. It's such a stacked album, and, it's really Prince's pinnacle.
She said, how'd you like to waste some time? And I could not resist when I saw a little naked grind.
Prince was definitely on his game at that point, and the stars were aligned, and 1984 was very, very good to Prince. But that's my number 2.
I love it. My number 2 is The Cars, Heartbeat City.
I like that album.
I loved The Cars at the time. It wasn't really the music I was into at the time, but I loved the production of that album because it had a big, you know who produced it? It was Mutt Lange.
Oh, really?
Mutt Lange produced that album. So Def Leppard was going to do Hysteria, their next album.
Yeah, they're breaking out.
But he had already committed to doing the Cars album.
No kid.
But of course, all the tragedy that happened with Def Leppard, it postponed their album, so he was still able to do the Hysteria album after all. But he actually produced that album, and you can tell because it's got those big drums. It's so well produced. It had such great songs like Hello Again. You Might Think. Magic.
You Might Think, was that the one with Rick Ocasek and he had his model girlfriend and the fly and all
very,
that?
very 80s, very 80s music video.
Yeah, it's kind of early computer graphics and stuff
exactly.
like that.
But you kept it going till the sun fell down. You kept it going.
Of course, Drive, Who's gonna drive you home
Ben Orr singing.
tonight?
Who's gonna drive you home tonight?
I love the Cars, and they came out in the 70s, and I got hip to them, and of course all through college they were very popular. But I loved what I really love about the Cars is Elliot Easton and his guitar work.
Yeah.
He is such a tasteful, spare yet hooky. He's got the best hooks in his guitar. You had Ben Orr singing, you had Rick Ocasek singing. It was a complete band, and they had so many incredible hits. In that span of time, from late 70s up until mid 80s,
I think I'm not 100% sure. Was that their last album?
It might have been. I think they kind of stuck around. Of course, Rick Ocasek died and Ben Orr died.
But that was more recent. I think Rick
Well,
Ocasek.
I know.
I think Rick Ocasek went on to do some solo stuff.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And they actually kind of regrouped for a while, and they had Todd Rundgren was actually, joined the band.
They actually put an album out. They actually put an album out like 10 years ago. Not even 10 years ago.
I think Todd Rundgren was on it.
And it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just a sad song that pulls you along, yeah.
Anyway, that's my number 2. What's your number 1? And I'm wondering if it's the same as my number 1.
Well, it's got to be
Let's do it.
Van Halen.
1984.
There you go. All right, 1984 was Van Halen's 6th album in as many years.
Yeah.
One a year. Boom, 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 boom. Just cranked them out. It came out on January 9th, 1984. And it became Van Halen's biggest selling album, at least under the Roth era, which is the best era.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing against Sammy. I love Sammy, but man, yeah.
No comparison.
No comparison. Even though David Lee Roth is a little crazy these days, have you seen the videos he's been putting on YouTube?
I heard about it.
Oh my God,
he's crazy from the heat.
Oh, big time, man.
David Lee Roth went on a stream of consciousness rant, making bizarre comments about Sammy being abducted by aliens and probe.
Well, this was the album that saw Van Halen really change their sound. I mean, they'd used some synthesizers maybe a little earlier, like on Diver Down, but this is the album where they really incorporated them as a, fourth instrument into the band. But the album had so many hit songs on it. Of course, the big hit was Jump, which was the first release off that album.
Go ahead and jump, jump. Go ahead and jump.
It also had, 3 other big hit singles. I'll Wait. To me, it was always kind of a departure for David Lee Roth, because he was kind of like find them, feel them, blank them, and forget them kind of guy. And he didn't really write, touchy-feely love songs, but that was one song that he was willing to,
He waited for the love to come down, I guess.
Wait for the love to come down. But, of course, another rocker on there was Panama. Panama is such a great killer song, and all these had great videos to them. And of course, Hot for Teacher.
Hot for Teacher's the best, man. I love that intro because it sounds like sort of that drum intro's. It sounds like a funny car.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in high school, and I had a little S10 pickup, and it had a big speaker box behind the seat. And I would put that, I'd be sitting at the red light, and I would crank that sucker up, and I would pretend like I was in a funny car. The whole car would be fucking shaking,
I hear what you're saying. Never thought of it that way. But
It sounds like a funny car.
It
sounds like a motor.
Pipes blowing fire out of it.
Yeah.
All right.
I love that song. I love the video. The video's, definitely one of the greatest 80s music videos of all time.
Absolutely.
Teacher, stop that screaming. Teacher, don't you see? Don't want to be no uptown fool.
They had all their little doppelgangers, and Roth was funny as shit in there, and the whole band just, did that cheesy little dance routine. It was it was great.
Got it bad, got it bad. I'm hot for teacher.
Those were all great songs, great videos, but I gotta say, man, I think 2 of my favorite songs on that album aren't one of those 4.
And what are they?
Drop Dead Legs.
Oh, that's a good song.
Drop dead legs. Pretty smile hurts my head, gets me wild.
And Girl Gone Bad. That's got some of Eddie's best tapping. Great guitar. David's just singing his ass off. Girl Gone Bad amongst the Van Halen faithful. That's definitely up there at the top. But that's going to be my number one,
And of course,
for 1984.
Of course, it's my number one too.
Is it?
And yeah, I mean, you think they predicted our episode by naming the album 1984?
Serendipity.
That's our top 3 albums that are turning 40 this year from 1984. Leave your picks below. Let us know what they are. Also,
And there was a lot of other ones out there.
There's
And
so
I'd
many
love
great-
to hear. I mean, you know, there's a lot of bands that I really like that I didn't even include in this, but you know, like REM. And there's a lot of great alternative bands, a lot of cool rock and roll that was really coming out at that point.
Yeah.
Of course, Troy's favorite era was really blossoming at that point.
I don't know if Rat put out an album in 84. We got some merch. Click on the link below. You can get some beer steins, some t-shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time in the show.
All right.